Okay. So let me give a recap what we have discussed as part of previous session. So from last couple of sessions, we have been discussing about Azure networking concepts, whereas we have created virtual network, and in the same to have our practicals done using this line items, we have created three virtual networks, that is VNet 01, VNet 02, VNet 03, and we have logged into each virtual networks, and we have seen both the virtual networks is isolated between each other, right, by default. And then we have seen how the virtual machines are by have internet connectivity by default by checking the ping response to the google.com, and we have got a response. That is all two first concepts we have seen. And third concept we have talk about peering concepts, whereas if by default the design is isolated, if at all, if you require a communication between the virtual networks in your scenario in some reasons, right, you have an option to perform the peering. So VNet 01, VNet 02, as in previous session, we have performed the peering so that we could communicate between 01 to VM02 that we have seen. Right, to get a ping response, what you need to remember, you should be enable the firewall advanced configuration of inbound rules for your IP version 4 echo request. Otherwise, there might be a connectivity, but we cannot test it with the ping command. Right? In the same pairing, without changing any other options, if you're performing between two different virtual networks, which are belongs to two different physical regions, we'll call them as global pairing. So when it comes to operation standpoint, you could see the steps to perform the virtual network pairing is same as normal pairing with a global pairing. There is no difference in that. But when you call peering and global pairing, only difference is within a region, if you enable the communication between the two virtual networks, we'll call it as a peering. If we enable the pairing between two different geographic region, we'll call it as a global pairing. Right? This is what on a high level, which we have discussed as part of previous session. Any questions, guys, till now? Okay. So as part of today's session, we're going to talk about the third line item, that is communication between Azure resources. So you can enable the virtual network integration to your Azure services by using Azure service endpoints. So what is mean by service endpoints here? Azure does help you out to communicate between two different Azure services securely instead of having internet route or internet connectivity to communicate between each other. It does use the internal connectivity within the Microsoft backbone network to reach between two different Azure services. So what I mean by two different Azure services here, let's say you have a virtual machine and you have one storage account. These two are two different services, right?
No,
So
sir.
if you guys remember, as part of your storage account creation and configuration discussion, we haven't discussed anything about networking area. When it comes to networking, I just say that we'll discuss in further sessions. Am I correct? So in today's session, I'm going to cover the storage account networking area, how exactly you can integrate your virtual network so that the traffic can be allowed only from the particular network only. The other network traffic, if it comes, it will deny. It is completely related to the security and the best practices of creating your storage account and managing a storage account. Is it clear, folks? Any questions? So I'm just creating the storage account in West US 2. I'm going with the locally redundant. So this is the area we haven't discussed anything, correct? Let's talk about it. So I'm just creating for now with the default values. So guys, able to hear me, right? My voice, everything is clear?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yes, everyone is so silent. So I was just wondering because I'm not using Wi-Fi. That's why I'm just checking. Thank you, Venkat. Yeah. If you see here, we have just created one storage account. In this storage account, this is the networking area where we haven't touch this particular asset. So by default, if you could see what it is saying, public network access, it means enable from all networks. It means from anywhere, if you have the right privileges of RBAC or storage account keys or shared access signature, if you have any one sort of authorization with you, right, or authentication method with you, with this settings, what will happen? It does enable the connectivity to everyone. It means it's all networks. If the traffic comes from anywhere in the internet, it will allow us the connectivity. This is the by default setting. So is it recommended setting that anyone who knows my storage account URL and data can connect at least a network level they should reach or hit my storage account? Is it a recommended method? What is your thoughts? Okay, so when it comes to cloud, as we are into public, right? We are not into kind of a private network. We are completely into a public network. So when I say when we are in a public network, allowing, right, from anywhere, from all the networks, it is not at all recommended. Do remember this. Whenever there is a settings called all networks, any network stating as a star as a wildcard entry, make sure that you should never do that in your real-time scenario. So when I say that you should not do it in a wildcard entry, we should not do the all networks, right, today. So what is the other alternative option? Whereas we have an option of enable from selected networks. When I click on this enable from a selected networks, so what it is saying, add existing virtual network, add new virtual networks. It means you can enable the connectivity to the storage account dedicatedly from your virtual network and to the respective subnet alone. So that what will happen if the virtual machine want to speak with a storage account and vice versa, the communication will not go to the internet. It will use Azure backbone network, Azure internal network, so that your connection is secure first in place. Apart from your virtual network traffic is trying to communicate with the Azure storage account, it will get denied. Shall we see that practically now? For that, when you're adding an existing subnet, right, I'm selecting my VNet 01, for example, selecting my development subnet. So what exactly it mean now? So I'm saying this storage account should be allowed access only from a VNet 01. That too, if the communication is coming from development subnet, then only you should allow the connectivity. Other networks you should not allow. So this is the settings what we have been doing. To perform this integration of existing or a new VNet, you need to enable the feature called service endpoint. Okay, that can be enabled as part of the screen, if not as part of your subnet creation as well, or subnet configuration window as well. You can enable the service endpoint. So in this scenario, I'm enabling as part of this integration itself. So first setup, instead of add button, what you are able to see here, the expected button should be add, so that your development subnet from a VNet 01 will be get added here, and then you click on save, so that this particular storage account can be accessed only from this virtual network and a respective subnet. But if you could see here what it is saying, service endpoint status, what you are seeing here, it is saying not enabled. It means you cannot able to access the or integrate your virtual network until or unless you have enabled the service endpoint. So for that, I'm just clicking on enable. It won't take much time, hardly within a minute or two, you could see enabling status now. So it is enabled. As soon as the service endpoint got enabled for the storage account, then only you could see here the green tick mark enabling selected networks with the service endpoint for Microsoft.storage is complete. It means it is allowed now for a Microsoft storage. Click on add. So now what will happen? I allowed the communication from this, from where alone it will add the connectivity now. If the traffic comes from development subnet only, the storage account will be connected. If it comes from different location, a different set of a network, what is the expected behavior? It should not allow. Is it clear?
Student, I have a question here.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, see, I mean, here you have selected VNet 01, right, as an for a testing purpose. So in the
Yeah.
earlier session, like, you just like did a peering, right, from VNet 01 to 02. Now, if you
No,
select 01 here, meaning like, the secondary, what is that, IP addresses, which is part of VNet 02, can be used, I mean, the same, those IP addresses also can access this storage account, right?
no, with this configuration, it cannot be done, right? So
Because
in
already
your
peering was already done at the network level, meaning like, those set of IP addresses will be communicated between, two VNet, right,
yeah, I
as part of
understand your
two.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely understand your question. Whatever we have been doing will got a service endpoint. So to satisfy your requirement, we can add a VNet 02 also. If this is what your requirement. Let's say the communication you are looking at from a VNet 02, so that you just add the VNet 02 network as well here. So that what
Okay,
will
the
happen?
peering concept won't comes in picture here, right? That's what we mean.
With this, there is a two components. One is service endpoint, other one is private endpoint.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are discussing about service endpoint. So that whereas you are just adding the required VNets which you want to enable the connectivity, right?
No, no, my question is different actually. See, what I mean, like, the peering concept which we discussed in the previous session, right? Meaning, like, when
Yes,
we are, mapping the VNet 01 and VNet 02, you mean like there will be, network level communication between those two virtual networks, correct?
yes, I understand your question. So what I'm trying to explain here. So your
Hmm.
VNet 01 and 02 can communicate until unless wherever they have an identity, wherever they have a assigned IP address. Correct. That is what technically behind the scenes. VNet 01, if I'm naming, it means you are creating a virtual machines against it, and those virtual machines will have an IP address so that you can communicate with each other. Correct.
Okay.
So here in this case, storage account doesn't have any entity. It has a public URL. Okay. With this component, like with the concept of service endpoint, you cannot communicate between like with the peering of a destination network using service endpoint. That is not possible. But you can add as many as VNets you want to enable the service endpoint. Okay. To answer your question, so I understand your question that I will enable the I have the integration with the VNet. Why can't I communicate from 02? As I have already have a peering. Correct. For
Yes.
that, what you can do, there is a concept called private endpoint. So we are discussing service endpoint, right? There is a concept called private endpoint. You could see the next tab here.
Yes.
So with this setup, this is kind of you can follow it as self-explanatory. What will happen? Your storage account will get a IP address assigned, like a virtual machine, right? What we are defining was although it is a public DNS based service, but as part of my security constraint, I want to assign an IP address for it. Like 0.4 is a VM, 0.5 you want to assign it for a storage account. In such cases, what will happen? Your storage account also have an IP address. In that cases, you don't need to perform a service endpoint also, because you have already has a peering from a 02, you can communicate directly because it has IP address. No, that is
Yeah.
called service
See,
endpoint. Sorry,
yeah,
private
yeah.
endpoint.
Whatever we are doing, like we are doing at the public network level, right? But
Yeah.
usually in the realistic scenario, as you said, like we don't use public network in the customer space. So what
Okay.
at what point we do this setup actually?
So this is mainly useful when the application want to have an access to storage account securely. You can enable the service endpoint. Okay. You want to establish the secure connectivity with your own network. You don't want to have a dependency with cloud network, right? You want to use your own network. In such cases, right? You could use a private endpoint so that your communication will happen with your own network. So what I'm referring as a private endpoint, so you will get better understanding in next couple of sessions, right? Whereas we're
No,
going to talk about VPN
Surendra,
technology.
sorry to interrupt. Actually, my question is different. Actually, the reason why I'm asking, right? See here, you are selected as public network, correct? Public network access, right?
Yeah,
So, when you talk about IP ranges like class A, class B, class C, you are referring like there are set of public, private IPs range, correct?
yes,
The VNet you are create VNet 01, you are created by picking the public, private IP address range, correct?
yes,
Okay, now for public, network access, how we can, map the private IP, range actually. It need to be
huh.
set up private IPs, right? Sorry, public IPs, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. We have a concept in Azure, something we could name that as a private endpoint connection. If you do this setup, for
No,
example,
no,
what
here
will
only, no, no, sir. I totally understand. My question here is the screen says like public network access, correct?
correct?
So you have mapped VNet 01, the one which we created in the previous session, correct? For this,
Correct,
the address range you have picked as 10.100.0.2. This is the private IP address range.
correct, correct.
So, for a public network access, how come we can bypass? Providing the public IP, private IP address range here. We need to
No,
have that, IP address range which is, out of this public private IP address IP range, right?
I understand your question now. So you are asking, you are integrating private IPs, but your headline is public network. What is the
Yes,
reason behind it? Why we are doing it?
correct, correct. Yeah,
I understand your question. So if you see here, your storage account is sitting at Azure data center and your virtual machine is sitting at Azure data center, correct? So if you're not integrating this, what will happen if my virtual machine want to communicate with the storage account? Storage account will have a URL, correct?
correct.
We discussed in the previous sessions. So what will happen? That URL resolution will go to the internet to check. So my destination is the storage account, that is AZT27.windows.core.blob.com, right? blob.core.windows.net. That is my URL. I want to communicate. So what virtual machine will do first in place? It will go and check the internet. If it is allowed, it will communicate. Correct? That is the default behavior. Till now, it's clear. Now, what we are doing now, instead of using internet to communicate to your destination storage account, we are using Azure backbone network because both are sitting at the same physical location. Correct? What is the necessity going to the out of the data center and come back inside? You got my point.
Okay.
That is where with this service endpoint, what will happen? It does use your backbone network within the internal network of Microsoft to communicate between each other so that your traffic is not necessarily to go and communicate with the internet and then come back to the data center. It's kind of a round trip it has to do. Although these two services are sitting side by side in a data center, or I could say at least a minimum, at least residing at the same physical data center, right? Am I able to clear your doubt, or you want me to explain further?
No, it's, I mean, can you, if I didn't get actually, I must try to map actually.
That is completely fine. Now, I'm having one virtual machine here. Okay. And I'm having one storage account here. This is my VM01. It has a running of application 01. And this is my storage account. What is mean by storage account here? AZT2701 is my test storage account. Now my requirement is my application want to get some data or post some data in my blob container or a file share. That is my requirement. Just assume, right? That application residing are where? My VM01, correct? Till now, is it clear?
Yes,
An
it's clear.
application is trying to connect your storage account for to get some data, to post some data, or grab some data, delete some data, add some data, whatever the operation. It has a dependency to communicate with the storage account. What is the storage account URL?
AZT2701 dot
HTTPS is AZT2701
dot blo-
dot
dot
blob
blog
dot core dot
Windows
Windows
dot net.
net. Container
Yes.
name is test01 and then file.txt. For example, if you are trying to access a text file, right? This
Okay.
particular URL, it will call within the application which is running at VM01, correct? This is the public URL, correct? It's not a private URL which will access only
Yes.
within the
Yes.
company. It is a public
Right.
universal URL.
Right.
So what will happen in the VM01? It will check, it will go to the internet, correct?
Yes.
It will go to the internet here. It will go to the internet. When it goes to the internet, first request, what will happen here? Let me put up these lines. So it will go to the internet first. It will check, boss, whether this AZT27 blob.code code window is reachable first and is allowed to connect from internet, all networks, correct? Okay. Then
Okay.
what it will say internet, okay, boss, whatever you are hitting, trying to reach, it is available. And I am just sending the request to the respective destination storage account. This is the flow.
Okay.
Till now it is clear.
Yes.
Now, where is these two data centers are locating? In this example, for example, these two resources where physically these are all residing under one data center, that is my West US2. Is it clear till now? Chiranjeevi able to follow?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's clear.
Now, it means physically these two services running on a same data center, correct?
Okay.
Now the question is, when I'm running in the same data center, why I need to go out of the data center and communicate? I can communicate directly like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will say, I don't want to allow the connection from anybody. I don't want this connection from anyone. I will say, I don't need it. I want a connection from my known network. That is, what is my known network of VM01? My VM01 network name is VNET,
Zero. Zero.
VNET01. Subnet is dev subnet. So what I'm saying now, you allow the connection which are all coming from VNet01 from a development subnet only. If the request is coming from outside of this network, for example, it will deny, it will not even connect to you. Because I know that where my application want to connect. It is not like I doesn't know anything, right? As being an administrator, I know which application the storage account is requested for, which business is requested for, correct? It is not like the storage account should be accessible from anywhere in the world. Is that clear till now?
Okay. Yeah.
For that, what I have made in the networking settings, instead of all networks, I made it only selected. When I say the VNet01, if I click on save, for example, I save the settings. what it has to do now? What is the expectations here?
It will just connect by using VNet, this dev subnet
Never submit
opinion.
allow, or else it will allow from VNet 0 to what is the subnet? UAT subnet only. If it comes from anywhere in the world, what it will say? It will access or it will deny?
It will access.
It will access or deny. If I coming from my computer, for example, what it will do? The request, for example, if I try to accessing from my computer, from my laptop now,
So if you are communicating to this universal URL, you can access, right?
no. URL is universal, but we are denying the permission, right? On network end.
Okay,
We are
specific.
saying
Okay,
that we
okay,
are
just
saying that
specific.
you are universal only, but you should not allow from anyone because
Okay, if you
you are my
select this,
business.
okay,
I
if you
am
select this
speaking
option,
to you.
enable from all networks, then we can access. Okay.
Correct. That's correct. Shall we test that now so that you will get better understanding?
Yeah, yeah.
Now I am going to the container. I am clicking on my test 01. Am I able to access?
No.
Why it is not allowed? Why it is not allowed? Because I said allowed networks only from virtual networks only, not from a
Oh,
physical laptops of my end user,
okay. Mm-hmm.
right? You have some better understanding now. Chiranjeev, or else will explain once again, not a
No, no,
problem.
it got clear. It got clear.
It got clear. How about others? Is it confusing what we have been discussing without in asking you folks?
No, Surendra, we are good. Uh,
Okay. How about you, Harsha? Able to follow?
yes, Surendra.
Okay. One important thing is we just seen this example only for a storage account now, correct? Right? So this particular concept of service endpoint will support in Azure for multiple offerings of PaaS services like your databases, right? For all databases like your SQL, MySQL, Postgres, MariaDB, Cosmos DB, and other services of your web applications, your key vaults, which we'll discuss in further sessions, right? These are very core components where you could do this VNet integration and enabling the service endpoint, right? The operation technology is same steps, no difference in it. Clear? In a real-time scenario, one more use case. So this is for application to communicate because my application is running at my VNet 01. My application is running at VNet 02. Okay, you allowed the connection. But I am an administrator, boss. I want to access my content. I want to see the content. I want to manage the content. In such cases, what you can do? What are the options? You need to log into any one of the machine in this VNet 01 and 02 and then communicate. If not, your organizations will have dedicated public IPs. It is not kind of a dynamic ones. They will be having hardly numbers, one or two or three or five, maximum of below 10 public IPs. Your organization will be purchased from your service providers. If you want to test that, if when you go to your office, like whenever you go visibly, when you get a chance, you just type what is my IP in the browser. Same IP will be used everyone in the organization, right? In such cases, what you can do at least, you can whitelist your organization public IP. Assume that I am sitting at office. I will go to my browser. I will just type what is my IP. So I will go here so that I will get IP version 4 as well. It is checking. If you see now, this is my IP version 4. So what I will do, I will take this public IP. I will go back to my screen here. If you see, add IP ranges that allow the access from internet. It is not from your on-premises. It is from Azure network. We added a service endpoint. But from an end user perspective, if they want to connect, what I will do, I will whitelist the public IP here. Click on add an IP. So that what will happen apart from my Azure networks, you can also allow the connectivity if the request is comes from this public IP, in a real-time scenario, you should not allow the personal public IPs. It is allowed, it is recommended to be allowed only your organization public IPs. Clear? Now, I can save it. If I go back to my containers, if I click on the test01, am I able to see the data of my image file here, PNG file, earlier which is not allowed me to see. Now, why it is allowed now? Why it is not allowed earlier?
Yes, your IP has been added.
So that can also be done so that you can restrict the storage account access first in place. Make sure when you get a chance tomorrow scenario, you should never be allowed storage account setting as all networks at any cost. There is two scenarios only, right? Storage account you are creating for the purpose of your application, if not for the purpose of administrators. Application access, you can integrate the VNets. Your end user access, still you use the jump box and connect. If not, you can add your organization public IP so that you can communicate and see. Any questions, guys, with this concept of integrating a virtual network, concept of service endpoint? I will also save this image for your reference probably, and I will upload it in your SharePoint as well. Okay. Is it clear, folks? Shall we proceed with the next concept?
Yes.
How about Harsha Venkat? Able to follow?
Yes,
Oh. So the next concept which we're going to talk about is network security group. So no need to think like I was here and there, I'm coming in between the components and a concept, nothing to worry. At the end of the day, we're going to cover all the concept. But when it comes to list, it has the concepts in a listed manner, but it will be discussing this concept here and there, but nothing to worry. Yep. Now I'm going back to the second slide of network security groups. So network virtual appliances are your firewall devices, which will be handling your security team. But in Azure, we have a network security groups. What is mean by network security groups? Network security groups will call them as software firewalls to your virtual machine. Okay, what I mean by software firewall, it does behave as a firewall and it will control all your inbound and outbound traffic of your virtual machines or your virtual network or number of virtual machines. So now the next question is it clear what is mean by inbound traffic? What is mean by outbound traffic? Any questions with that? Venkat, do you have any idea what is mean by inbound traffic, outbound traffic?
can you please explain once?
So let's say I'm having a virtual machine called VM01, right? I just logged into the server and then I'm trying to communicate with the google.com. So what will happen? For me, for my virtual machine, I'm accessing google.com, that is outbound traffic to my virtual machine. Is that clear? When I say the inbound, that virtual machine is running an application and I am accessing from my own computer, from an internet, trying to access the application from an external world, and I'm trying to reach VM01 where the application is running. That communication where I'm trying to access an application from my browser, it is hitting my VM01. That is incoming or inbound traffic to the virtual machine. We'll see that practically also. Now we'll create one network security group. We'll put on some rules. We'll show you how you can add the rules and how it can perform or managing the inbound and outbound communication. Clear?
Yeah, yes.
Now I'm going to my portal. That is my portal.azure.com. and I'm creating a network security group. For that, you need to go to create a new service. Just type network security group. Click on create. So I'm just creating a new resource group called NSG -RG. Now name of it is NSG01. Location as I'm just using West US 2. So if you see creation of network security groups pretty much simple and straightforward, you just give a name and location for the particular service. That's it. All right. Click on next. It will have a tag value here and then review. Creation is pretty much straightforward. Click on create. So I'm just navigating here also. I'm just duplicating my tab so that I will show you which screen we are into, what we are trying to discuss here. So as part of your VM creation, we are under networking tab. If you see once after your virtual network, what is the next concept you could see here? Network security group. So by default, what is the setting here? Basic setting. When I mean basic setting, what will happen if I navigate to your NSG 01? What are the default rules here? You could see some inbound security rules, outbound security rules, and also we're yet to discuss in your basic tab. We have one concept here, right? Inbound port rules. We haven't discussed this part also, right? We'll talk about that particular area of what is mean by ports, how you can allow, how you can deny, all the concepts. When it comes to network security group, as I mentioned, it does use your, it does helps you as a software defined firewall to your virtual machines, a set of virtual machines. These rules will have to contain two parts. One is inbound rules, other one is outbound rules. Okay, inbound in the sense the traffic which is coming outside world hitting your virtual machine. Outbound traffic is the traffic which is originating within the server. Correct? You could see some default rules. What is the default rule? If I see first rule, what it is saying, guys? 65,000 is a priority number. Name is allow VNet inbound. Port number is any port. Protocols is TCP, UDP, or any other protocols. Source is virtual network. Destination is virtual network. What is the action here? It is action is allowed. Now, if you keenly observe this, why we are able to communicate when we have performed the peering? Because with my default rule, if you could see source and destinations are coming from virtual networks. Both are in my Azure VNet. If they have a communication, you allow the communication. That is the rule it is defining, correct? And second thing I want to explain why the internet is working by default outbound connection. You could see this rule 65001. Any traffic, any protocol, source is anything. Destination you are trying to access internet. What is the default action here? What is the action which I have highlighted here?
Allowed.
Allow. Because of this default rules only, you are able to communicate when you do the peering. You are able to communicate with the internet when you're trying to access. Now, what I will do, I will try to add a custom roles or custom rule defined with my own requirement for my application or an administrative purpose. And then so that you'll get a confidence why it is needed, where it's been using. These are default rules only, which is there Correct? Next thing, you could see something called priority as a first column, and you are seeing some numbers 65,000, 65,001, 65,500. Correct? Why they're giving a priority some numbers here? Any idea?
These are the connections that users.
Hmm. So typically these priority in numbers will work in a manner that lowest in a number, it will take the highest precedency. You are clear with this? Lowest in number, it means if you're having 100 as a number, 200 as a number, which one is the lowest number? 100 or 200?
100.
100. So 100 will apply the first. When you have 10 different rules defined inbound or outbound, for example, in the 10 rules, which rule will take a precedence, which is having a priority with the number of 100? Shall we see that practically how that functions? How that behaves with the priority, and I will also show you how you can add a rules for your application or a business requirement. So I'm just navigating to a VM01. If you click on the networking area under settings, you could see one inbound and outbound rules which is there already, correct? Because as part of a VM creation, we are going with the default values. If you see here in networking, I'm not selecting, I didn't discuss anything today, correct? As of today about networking area. So what it is doing, it is creating a basic NSG. So as part of basic NSG, what it will get all these rules. And as part of your this screen, what you are doing here, you are selecting to allow 3389 port. Correct? By default settings, I'm saying. If you select none, what will happen? Here 3389 port is allowing with the priority of a 300. 3389 used for what? For taking remote desktop connection, connecting to your Windows machines remotely. So what I have made, I have allowed 300 priority 3389 port. If the connection is coming from anywhere, destination is anything, you allow the connection. That is the only reason I can able to connect to your virtual machines from my laptop. Because what I mentioned, I have allowed the virtual machine connectivity and a port number of 3389 from anywhere. Tomorrow, if your application is running on 443 HTTPS, right? What you typically do to work the application, you need to allow the particular application URL. So let's say source is anything, source port is anything, destination is anything, destination port. For example, if you want to allow application access to the enterprise world or like internet, what do you need to select? HTTPS. So HTTPS will use a port number called 443. So when I say HTTPS, all your URLs right today, if you see here, what is the URL starting from portal.azure.com? HTTPS colon. This is universal in nature. Any application, 99.9% will run on port number of 443. Okay, your application owners will request for an access, right? Whichever the port their application is running, they will ask you to open the port. As being an administrator, what is your job? You need to allow the respective port and give some priority also. Let's say you are allowing the action is allowed. Priority, let's say it is 1,000 or 10,000, whatever the number. And then port number, I'm saying HTTPS for my app 01. In description, you can mention why you have been enabling and which reference ticket you have been enabling. It's an optional, but if you could give the ticket number, that could be helpful for other engineers to track of it. If you click on add, what will happen in this scenario? My virtual machine 01, if at all it has a, I'm just navigating to outbound and coming back to inbound. Let me refresh and come. If you see here now, are you able to see HTTPS port number for application 01 I have allowed? So what will happen now? I can able to access if there is an application is running inside my virtual machine. So being an administrator, this is your role, guys. Do remember, do follow it, that you need to allow the ports or deny the ports based on the customer requirement. Till now, it's clear, guys. Any questions? Chiranjeevi, Harsha, Venkat, able to follow?
Yes.
Hmm. Now, let's talk about priority how it functions. So for now, I'm just starting my virtual machine. So my virtual machine is running now, right? Virtual machine is started. I'm just taking my public IP of my virtual machine. I'm just going to RDP. I'm able to connect to my server. That is not Surendra Haderu, it is Azure admin is the username. Click on S. If you see here, I'm able to connect to the virtual machine. So why I have been connected? Because I have allowed the RDP port with the 3389 from any source. Source means anybody from anywhere in the world can able to connect to my server. That is the reason I'm able to connect to my virtual machine. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add one more rule, right, with the same RDP port of 3389. If one more thing, guys, do remember, if it is not fall under this default port numbers, whatever is there in this window, first point is for sake of your knowledge and understanding, you should be able to tell whenever someone asks about all these port numbers. HTTP is port 80, HTTPS is 443, SSH is 22, RDP is 3389, MSSQL is 1433, MySQL is 3306, Postgres some 5502, right? FTP is 21, SMTP is 25, DNS is 53. So like that, you should be able to speak about all this default port number, guys. Make sure you browse through these port numbers, maintain a column in Excel sheet, by heart them. As being an administrator, knowing the port numbers is a mandatory requirement. Second thing, if your business requirement of allowing a port number is not fall under these available services, assume. In such cases, you can always go with the custom value, give your own port number. If it's a 123, also you give it. You understand my point, right? Custom means you can give your own port number if you're not fall under existing ones. So 3389 is my port number. This time instead of allowing RDP connectivity, I will deny the RDP connectivity with the priority of 200. Right? The name of this rule, I will name it as deny RDP. Click on add. So it is just adding a rule. If I go back to the overview, come back to the networking screen. So what I'm saying here, deny RDP. What is the action you could see? Deny or allow?
Deny.
I'm going back to the MSTSC, pasting my public IP, trying to connect. Am I able to connect RDP to my server?
No.
Why?
Made an action like this.
But very next rule is allowed, no? Same port, 3389 is allowed.
Priority.
That is where your priority comes into the picture. What I mentioned priority, how it does function? Lowest in number will take the highest in precedency. What is the lowest number here? In the priority rules?
200.
200, correct? So what is the 200 action is? Deny action. So there is no point in going for a second rule, but because your port number is with the priority basis denied first. Later it can be allowed, it doesn't considered. So to give you
Can
an
we change the
understanding,
priority for the same rule?
sorry, what you are referencing here?
Can we change the priority for the same rule? Yeah.
Yes, you can change it if you want. It is
Okay.
editable only.
If
Name
we
you cannot
make it
change.
400, make 400, can we still access the RDP? If we make this as
Yes,
400.
yes, yes. That is the design. That is the technology, no. So I was denied with a 400 as a priority. I am saving it now.
Now it will. Okay.
It should. Let it get save this. Now rule has been saved. I'm going to overview, coming back to the network, so the screen will get refreshed. Are you able to see now? The deny rule will come where? 400, correct? If I go back to here, wherever the failed RDP, I'm connecting once again. Am I getting a response?
Okay.
Now you guys have a clarity how the priority functions, how the priority works. Second thing, if someone is asking you as being an administrator tomorrow, application is guy is saying that I want to access my application in a port number 467. You know how to allow the port now? Here, any questions till now?
Yeah, you are showing this default ports, right? Can we allow the custom ports as well?
That's what I explained no, just before. You have an option of custom option. So these are default one, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, RTP and all. You have an option called custom. Whichever is not there by default, you can give a custom numbers like
But we
909.
can't use the default port numbers here. Like
Default port
443
numbers
is
also you
default.
can use. Yeah, if you want to
No,
allow
no.
the
Under,
443,
no.
you
What
said
I
it's
meant,
a
like under custom port, yeah. See, here, like for HTTPS, it's 443, correct?
hmm.
Under custom, like will it allow to choose, like
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it
Okay.
will. It will
There's no
allow.
restriction.
You just select a custom, you give the defined
Whatever the port.
predefined port numbers also, it will take, not a problem in that.
Okay.
That's not a problem. Okay. And one more important thing in an organization is that you should never ever allow the management post. What is mean by management post? 338922. Administrator post to connect remotely off your servers. Source as any. You should never do that in the organization. I am doing deny because I was giving a training. I want to connect the server from my laptop. I was using different set of IP addresses and internet connectivities. But when it comes to real time, your servers are intended to allow only from your company, or only from a VDI, or only from a VPN, not from outside world. Am I correct,
Yes.
guys? So when it comes to real time, when you're adding in any role apart from application ports, you should never ever allow the source as any to your management ports. It's a critical security breach. You should be very careful in that. When you're adding a rule, You should never be source as any. That is the reason why it is giving a warning symbols here. You should have noticed, right? Only RDP ports are having a warning. Other port doesn't have anything. Clear, guys? How you can take out this? I'm editing this rule. So instead of allowing source as any, I'm selecting IP address. What is mean by IP address? I can I can restrict the access to the specific set of IP addresses. Let's say I want to allow the RDP connection only to, let's say, Venkat's like system only, not for Harsha, not for Chiranjeevi and me. So in that case, what I will do, I will go here to the browser, type what is my IP. So in a real time, guys, your company will have one or two public IPs only. You can get those public IP addresses and then allow the only specific public IPs so that your virtual machine access is should be allowed only from your company, not from anywhere else. In this scenario, I'm allowing only from my home public IP. Click on save. This is will called as a whitelisting the public IPs. Do remember this keyword called whitelisting. What is mean by whitelisting? You are giving only dedicated set of IP address so that it will be allowed the access only from there, not from anywhere else. If I refresh the screen, what will happen? The warning symbol for my rule will go away. Are you able to notice this? For an RDP, my warning symbol has gone away. So why it is gone away? Because I made instead of any source, I given only one public IP. It means if any of you guys try to access this public IP for an RDP 20.69.101.102, it will not allow. It will allow only from my home computer. This will call it as a whitelisting of a public IP addresses. What is mean by whitelisting? You are allowing only specific set of IP addresses. You can add multiple port numbers from a same IP. Let's say you want to allow one more public IP, click on comma and then allow, not a problem. You can add n number of IP ranges. You can give slash also, slash 27, slash 24, that kind of a range also you can give. Nothing wrong. You can add multiple IP address as a source as well. If it's a custom role, you can comma separate and add the roles as well. All right, let's where I have added a custom one 443. So let me add a rule to show you. So here in this case, as part of your creation, right? As part of a creation of your rule, you can comma separate. Let's 443 you want for an external. For internal, you want to allow the port number 80. For database also running in the same server, SQL database 1433. MySQL also running 3306. Like that, you can add multiple port numbers also by comma separated. That is also possible. Similarly, IP addresses also you can add multiple IP addresses by comma separated. It will allow. It is not like each and every port, each and every public IP. You need to allow the different. You need to create a different rules. It is really not needed. It's the same public IP of a company and you want to add one more office public IP, just give a comma separate and give the same. Because both companies want to access RDP. In an example, I'm saying.
So, Surendra, one question is how to know which machine is running on which port?
No, 3389 is the universal port number for taking an RDP.
Okay.
And port number 22 is a universal port for taking SSH for Linux machines. Like application to access on a HTTPS, 443 is a universal. So that's why I'm just saying you need to by heart. So he is in.
So you are telling about in like custom, right? So we can create our port, our own port.
Let's
In that
say your
case,
application is running in your own port. You define your port. You're not using market or
yeah,
enterprise
it different.
enterprise grade ports. In such cases, you just click on custom and give a number, not a problem. But as being an administrator, I need you guys to by heart these numbers. Make a note in Excel sheet and by heart these port numbers. You should save at any point in time. This is a very basic thing which you guys to be get to know the port numbers. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, one more important thing is that these rules, if you get see here, whatever inbound rules, it's a similar outbound. There's no difference, guys. You can compare same whatever we discussed as of today, as of now. Everything is similar to outbound. There is no difference. These NSG rules will be created by default on a network interface. What is mean by network interface? Ethernet port, if you compare physically for your laptop or desktops, that is where you can assign the IP address as well. Right? So your NSG rules will be applied on a network interface so that these rules will be get applied here. Clear? Second important thing, your NSG name by default is created with the VM name hyphen NSG. Now, if at all you don't want to apply it on a single VM, this is the, you have 100 development missions. All 100 development missions will be using same set of rules, same set of permissions. For example, in such cases, what will happen? You can apply this, you create one set of inbound and outbound rules, you apply it on multiple VMs. How you can do that? For example, you go to the NSG, navigate to the NSG. For applying a single virtual machine, select the associate button here. Are you able to see? So that if you add your network interfaces, here VM01, VM02 network interfaces are not possible to add because it already has an NSG. If it doesn't have, you can disassociate to there and associate here. So that what will happen? You can apply the rules, whatever you define rules on a single virtual machines by selecting or associating to the network interfaces. This is first scenario. Second scenario is your designated set of rules. If you want to apply it on a multiple virtual machines, right? You need to select the subnets. So that what will happen? Whatever the subnet you just select, let's say I'm just selecting VNet01 subnet, development subnet. What will happen now? Whatever the VMs I created using this development subnet, all this development subnet VMs will get the rules what I created on NSG01. This is a pretty much important interview question. Do remember, NSG rules can be applied on a single virtual machine by selecting a network interface. Can be applied on a multiple virtual machines by selecting the subnets. And other ways can be applied at network interfaces level, can be applied on a subnet level. Is it clear, folks? Any questions?
Yeah, clear.
Right? Interview perspective, these are all the pretty basic questions. How the priority works, what is mean by inbound, what is mean by outbound, how you can apply these rules, right? How the priority will function. That's it. That's all about the concept. Right? While checking the connections based on the rule, what it will select, it will select the source port, source IP address, destination port, destination IP address, and protocol. This will call it as a 5-tuple topology. What is it is? 5-tuple topology. What is mean by the 5 tuples? Source port 1, source destination is 2. Sorry, source port is 1, source IP address is 2, destination IP address is 4, and protocol TCP UDP protocol, it is the 5th one. That's why we'll call it as a 5-tuple topology. Important interview questions. Whatever we discussed, guys, if you could able to explain these basic points of 2-3 lines, that will be enough to clear an interview. Clear, folks? Any questions? Sorry, I have taken more time today, 15
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
more. If you
Surendra,
have,
where you have read those 5 tuple topology points? The screen.
sorry, no,
So
it's
why?
kind of an,
Okay.
no, let's say I'm connecting this RDP, no, now, right? While establishing this RDP connection, it will check these 5 things in the backend. But it will check source port. It means from my computer, which port the request is raised. Source IP. So from my computer, if I'm trying to access, it will check, okay, from which IP the request is coming. Similarly, it will check for destination port. Destination, which port it is, whether its port is allowed or not. It will also check for destination IP, which IP my destination VM is using, and protocol, whether the protocol is allowed, TCP protocol is allowed or UDP protocol is allowed, right? These are all things it will check before we are just seeing a fraction of seconds clicking on OK and entering the credentials, right? In the backend, while establishing this connection, whether checking the connection, these many things will check quickly in the backend. 5 things it will check. So that's why we'll call it as a 5 tuple topology. Is it clear, Venkat?
Yeah, yes, Surendra. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for today? Chiranjeevi,
I
Harsha,
have one question. Yeah, one question. Can you switch to storage account which we discussed
you
in the
want me to
question?
navigate to the storage account?
Yeah, I have a question there.
Yes, please. Yeah. This is my storage account.
Yeah, see in the network tab, like we did. Hello.
Huh. Yeah, I'm a network tab.
Yeah, we just added this like virtual networks over here, right? VNet 01 and VNet 02. With
Typically
two
subnets, not a network.
subnets.
If you
Sorry,
see,
I'm talking about we
uh,
did the subnets here.
uh,
You said like enabling for selecting virtual networks and IP addresses over here. My question here is we have this concept called like what is that access key, where it comes into picture here in this particular scenario, because when you are
there is,
making the connection between
I
at the
got,
network level.
there is 2 things. When it comes to, if you are communicating with other or destination, there is 2 things will come into the picture, Chiranjeevi. One is authentication, other one is authorization.
Correct.
Your keys will be fall under authentication. Network level will be fall under authorization.
Okay, but by default, like at the network level, if you are giving that access right to the particular say
Huh.
storage account or
It means,
so.
let's say, a network level you are having an access, but
Okay,
you don't have a valid key with you, then your authentication will fail.
but in the testing scenario, you just in the container, you try to access
As an
one of the file,
admin,
right?
correct. As an admin, I have RBAC role, so I was just able to see this. You understand my point?
Okay,
But
that's
here,
okay.
I don't
Okay,
need a
that's where
key
it's
to see
controlling.
this file. I don't need a key to see this file. Let's say
Okay,
I was using these keys from
okay,
application connection strings. If I'm using, for example, my application using this key or a connection string to communicate with your storage account, in such cases,
okay.
yes, it will check for it.
Okay, got it. Okay, you have that rules. Okay, it got clear. Thank you. Because that's what my doubt. Because when you click right, it's allowing us to access. Then when it
Hmm.
okay, understood now. Clear.
Okay, done.
Because you already have the privilege, so you are able to access that particular file. Okay,
Correct. But the same will not work out for application
what
doesn't have artifacts. No,
right?
application
Right.
will
So as a developer or end user have the difficulty if they don't have access key, they can't access the file or destination without that, right? Okay,
that's correct. Yeah.
clear, clear.
Okay, that sounds really nice.
Thanks.
How about others? Asha, Venkat, is it clear?
Yes, Surendra.
Okay. So in tomorrow's session, what we will do, we'll create a VPN tomorrow by ourselves. You are connecting a VPN which has been given by your organization. In tomorrow's session, we ourselves will create a VPN and then we'll connect our Azure workloads. Today, I'm connecting using a public IP. Correct. Every time I'm hitting a public IP. Correct. 20.16 is a public. But in a real-time scenario, accessing your workloads using a public IP is not recommended. You should use only private. When you can use a private, when you have a VPN to be connected or sitting at organization. So those scenarios we'll see it in tomorrow's session. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Then I have taken 20 minutes more today. Hope that is fine. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. IST. Thank you guys. Thanks
Okay.
for
Yeah.
joining.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Thank you.